WhiskyJason here, whiskey from the viewpoint of an American in Germany tasting rare and exotic whiskeys. Today I'm in the United States of America. Yay, it's not often I get to show a bourbon that you cannot get in America. Rebel Yell, Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey finished in cognac barrels. Defiantly smooth wheated bourbon, limited edition, 45% for Europe. Ah, look at that, a press cork. Little here and a nice little emblem here. They're going to have to change that again. Can I focus in on that? Because this whiskey is no longer called Rebel Yell. 2020 changed that with our political incorrectness. Anything to do with the Confederacy is basically a no-go now. And so they changed it to Rebel Bourbon. So if you type in rebelyellbourbon.com, you'll be redirected to rebelbourbon.com. And Lexco, the parent company, actually has changed the branding and the logos. We get over here in Europe the old stuff. This was before the crisis, so €36.90 is what I paid for this. This is the wheated bourbon, 106,000 bottles, as I said, whiskey base. That's where we take a look at all the information. We have an online database of all the whiskeys, almost 200,000 at the moment, and this is whiskey base number 164858. Well, it's more like 175,000, but shh. All right, so what does it mean, a wheated whiskey? For those of you that are not familiar with it, and for those that are, I'm sorry, I'm going to bore you for a moment. In order to be a bourbon, we need 50% or 51% basically corn. It's not malted corn. We have malted barley and single malt Scotch, but here in America, we use bourbon and we have corn. The same stuff you give your pigs and the other things there. Now, the rest of it can be anything you want that is a grain. So normally we have malted barley in there. The malted barley has certain enzymes so that it actually gets the fermentation process going and everything is okay. And normally we take a rye whiskey to give it a certain spice. Now, Maker's Mark and Weller 12, for example, and also Pappy, they use wheat instead of the rye, which makes it particularly smooth. Now, the same thing here with Rebel Yell. Now, Rebel Yell, Lexco, the parent company, they have their own distillery. This has been now in production since 2019, 2018. And so this is a Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey without an age statement, so it must be minimum of 4 years. So this is still a sourced whiskey. Maker's Mark, on the other hand, is actually made in Loretto, Kentucky, at Maker's Mark. Beam Suntory bought them many, many years ago, but we don't talk about that often. They're very, very unique. Now, if you ever see anything with wax running down there, dripping wax, it's going to be, if it's whiskey, it's going to be Maker's Mark. Because if anyone else does it, like a few people have done over in Europe, they get a nice little letter from a lawyer, a cease and desist. So don't do that again, or otherwise we're going to sue you. So that's something that only they can have with their intellectual property. So Rebel Bourbon, finished in a cognac cask for Europe. Let's take the nosing first of all. Very unique. I get pine tree. I get pine furniture polish is what I get. So pledge with pine. I'm missing a little bit of the spice that I normally have with my bourbons. Now, what really shocks me is how much more of a caramel butterscotch moment I get on the Maker's Mark. Now, if you put a Maker's Mark here versus, I don't know, let's say a Four Roses small batch or a Elijah Craig, whatever, I don't think I'd get as much of the caramel and the butterscotch as I do here. But in comparison, this is apparently a little bit more of a tart, a little bit of that pine, a little bit of that citrus moment. And here we go definitely into the toffee, the caramels, the butterscotch. Smells much better. I've done quite a few different whiskeys so far with cognac/brandy. Brandy is the global name. Cognac is the geographical designation. So think of sparkling wines. California, any place in the world we can make sparkling wines, but only Champagne comes from that area of Champagne. And that's the same thing. So it's a geographic designation. So if you think of brandy, it's exactly the same thing, basically cognac, but cognac is from that region in France. So, and they have special rules, but they're basically the same thing. And I'm not getting a lot of the cognac on my nose. I remember that I tasted 4 or 5 different whiskeys that were all beautiful. A Teeling Revival with a cognac cask, another Irish Lambe with a cognac cask. And I was like, oh, I like this, I like this. And I was like, I've never had cognac. So I ordered a little set of 6 little cognac sample bottles, tried it, and went back and that's the cognac. Here, I'm not really getting an overpowering cognac. Besides the bourbon. The bourbon is the powerful, the majority, and the cognac is very, very secondary type of aroma. All right, so let's try this. Cheers. Mm. 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 I'm not a great fan of the finish here. So it comes in and it's like, oh, this is fruity, nice, and I'm like, oh, wait a second, that pine sap is there. It's a really pine cone, pine sap moment, and it just there's a little bit of tardiness in there, tart. Not with a T, not with a D. It's not being laid. It's actually just being a little bit tart. Bitter is too much, but tart. And it's got a little bit of metallic. It seems to be a little bit young, and it's just not, it's a little bit alcohol there. 45%, yay, but it's not a good alcohol. Now, I'm not a great fan of the Maker's Mark, I must admit. Any day of the week, I would take the Maker's 46. All these new private selects from Maker's Mark, excellent. But the Maker's Mark and I were okay. If there's anything else out there, I'm going to take it instead. So, but as I said, the nose is fabulous today. The butterscotch just rolls off this. Cheers. Mm-hmm. Mm. Now, towards the end, especially as the aftertaste, I get a little bit, not as much, a little bit of that pine cone sappiness here as well. I get a little bit of popcorn, almost like a Dickel moment. George T. Dickel from Tennessee with the vitamins and Fred Flintstone and so, but just. Now, the butterscotch comes into the beginning, and then there's a little tiny bit of a wonderful brown sugar moment, and then it goes away. But the overall general truth of this whiskey is good. I think the Scotch Test Dummies, and I think it was Scott actually, he and his blind challenge, this one in his blind challenge. I'm going to do a mega blind challenge over here in Germany in the fall of 2021. So what we're going to do is we're going to have 18 whiskeys, and I'm going to send out packages, about 45 sets all over Germany. It might only be 23, we'll see. And I'm going to buy the bottles. I'm going to fill them up in little 3CL samples and send out bottles, sets of 3. And they're just going to be A, B, C, D, E, and then A, F, G, H, I, J, K, and then L, M, N, O, P, Q. And then we just have those 6 sets, and we do those online blind together in a live show. And there's be an online voting mechanism. And then the 2 finalists from the first round, second round, third round, they all go into the final round. And then we'll know what's in the 18 at the beginning, then we'll know what's in the 12, we'll know what's in the 6 at the end, and at the very, very end, we'll know which 6 are in the finals, and then we're going to see what is the best available German bourbon on the German market over here. And I'm really looking forward to that. I wanted to do that originally, but then there's a lot of stuff coming over to Germany now since the tariffs have more or less settled down and a few new bourbons are available. And instead, I'm going to do a mega blind challenge with 15-year-old Scotch instead in the first part of the year. So, hey, I can't complain there. Very, very good. I'm really, really going to expect this to be better than many people would say, or at least what I would think. All right, over here, going back to the cognac finish. Oh, I'm going to put 2 drops of water in it. See if anything changes or anything adds to this. Nope. As I said, that little bit of almost like it's a lemon pledge furniture polish moment with a little bit of pine needle or pine sap in there. This is almost like a tenor. This is like a baritone in the comparison, and this is not a deep whiskey actually. So this actually might be for his bourbon soprano, and this might actually be the tenor. Um, I just do not like the finish here. I'm going to give it a C minus, and the value for money for 36 €90. I'm going to give it a C minus as well. Over here, the Banker's Mark, I'd give it actually a C at the moment, and also for the value for money, C plus. This is one of the better whiskeys out there for the value for money, I think. It's a typical 4-year-old, got a beautiful, nice little bottle, got the dripping wax down here, and it's actually something many people at the beginning really, really like. But then you graduate higher proof, older whiskeys, a little bit more oomph and flavor and so on. Not bad. A little bit not what I wanted. All right, Rebel Bourbon. We can't say Rebel Yell anymore. Kentucky Straight Bourbon whiskey finished in cognac barrels. Defiantly smooth bourbon whiskey, limited edition for Europe. 6,000 bottles. Not a buy, I'm sorry. Try before you buy, at least that. All right, Whiskey Jason over here. Thank you very much. I cracked the 1,000 viewers last year. Let's see what this year is going to be. Please share the video with others. Please tell others about this crazy guy over here in Europe tasting whiskey you cannot usually find. Rare and exotic, and sometimes even bourbons. All the best. Thank you very much for watching. Whiskey Jason here. Bye-bye.